All right, welcome back to Community Focus here on Channel 6 TV. I'm Kenny Fogel, your host, and we're counting it down to November the 8th, Election Day. Coming up on November the 8th, we've got quite a few names on the ballot, whether it's federal, state, or local, and Bardstown City Council is no exception. You've got several names on that ballot, and one of the names you'll see on that ballot is Lee Grigsby Evans. And when you see the name Lee Grigsby Evans, you can put that name with this face. And Lee, first of all, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
I appreciate you being here today.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.
So, tell us a little bit about, before we get into the conversation about Bardstown City Council, who is Lee Grigsby Evans?
Well, Lee Grigsby Evans grew up in Bardstown. My family has been here for 150 years. My grandfather owned a very old business downtown, Grigsby Hardware.
I've been there many times.
Have you really?
Tells how old I am.
My father owned an implement business, International Harvester Tractors.
Been there several times. I remember that well.
My maternal grandfather was a physician here in Bardstown, Dr. William Ernest Croom, and his brother was the Croom Drug Store. He was a druggist, still bears his name. So I guess my family history goes way back. But when I graduated from Bardstown High School, but was very fortunate when I graduated to have been named Miss Louisville and then Miss Kentucky. And that opened a lot of doors for me, particularly since I worked for the then governor, Bert Combs, who was a very fine governor here in the state. And Governor Combs treated me to being a hostess in the governor's mansion 2 or 3 times, and I had the opportunity to see people and meet people that I probably would have never had the opportunity to meet. And it really sort of put the politics bug in my system. Because I went out and was a song leader for his rallies and that sort of thing, and met his lieutenant governor, Mr. Wilson Wyatt, who had been a former mayor of Louisville. And it just introduced me to a life that I had never known before. And also I started in the Stephen Foster story when I was a very young teenager and had that opportunity. So meeting people and being a part of the community that way was very important to my education. Then I moved away from here after my year as Miss Kentucky obligations, and went to Cincinnati to the Conservatory of Music. Then met my husband, and you know the rest of the story. Married him, had a family. We lived in Columbus, Ohio for 17 years, and then New York for a short period of time, and then Baltimore, Maryland, Baltimore, Washington area for about 5 years. So my cousin was in the Congress of the United States then, and so I had the opportunity once again to view Washington politics from that standpoint. But I was still in music. I was still in music at the time, and doing civic things in Columbus and Baltimore, and then we moved back to Bardstown when my mother became ill. I had a special needs older sister, and she had always taken care of her, and she became ill, so I came back to Bardstown about 25 years ago. Oh,
you've been here a little while then, but broadening your horizons, as I always like to tell people, when you get out and get away from Bardstown.
That's right.
When you come back, you get a little different perspective than you would have if you just stayed here all along.
I know. Yes, indeed. I had the opportunity to observe a lot of different arenas, not only the political arena, but the civic and hospital boards. And I worked for a long time, 4 years, as a volunteer teacher in a preschool for developmentally disabled children. And that created another passion of mine, which is the developmentally disabled person, special needs people. And I am on right now the board of the Guthrie Center, Opportunity Center Foundation. So it's a special passion of mine with my sister, and also I have a daughter who is a special needs person. So I've been, and for the past 10 years, I've played Stephen Foster's mother. So that's a different.
I'm sure that is. And we've said most everybody that's in this area that's seen the Stephen Foster story has seen you in the past.
I'm sure they have. I'm sure they have.
Well, a few years ago, going back several years, the Stephen Foster story was a major game in town. When somebody came to Bardstown, more than likely Kentucky home and Stephen Foster's story. Now I think the bourbon industry has somewhat overshadowed it to some degree, but we still have a lot of arts in this area.
Indeed,
and sometimes
yes.
I think we overlook a little bit.
I think we do too, and we are very fortunate for a city of our size to have a professional theater in our midst. I mean, it's just unheard of usually in cities of our size. So. And it's a training ground for young people and an opportunity for many people to be employed in various aspects of the theater. So I feel very fortunate because I think Bardstown is not only a charming town with the preservation and the beautiful buildings, but as a tourist, I can imagine what you would think of Bardstown. It's a charming, welcoming city, and I really love it.
Well, you went away for several years. You saw politics from Frankfurt, from Washington, D.C., from different areas, and you came back here. What took you 25 years to decide you wanted to work for city council?
I don't know. One of the things, of course, like most of the citizenry of Bardstown, is that I'm increasingly disturbed with the animosity in city government, the lack of cooperation with the city council and the mayor, and I just think it could be a better job. And maybe a change is necessary. You know, people get very complacent if they've been in certain ruts for a long time. Ruts are very comfortable. And continuity is good until it becomes complacency. And I just think there are several people on the city council who may have personal agendas that they're not even aware of.
So you think some sort of term limit elections may be in order?
Well, I generally agree with term limits because I think you get stale in a job.
Well, you've been following city council. Is there any particular issues that, other than the personalities, that's sort of jumping out at you, or is it primarily you just see the danger and in what direction we're headed in? Well,
it's the direction. I'm sure there is a difference of opinion with the city and the county. And, you know, most larger cities have a lot of times combined city and county. I'm not sure that would be a good idea here. It's usually in larger cities. I'm working with a fella named Archie Twitchell, who was the city manager of Boulder, Colorado. And he's a very learned man. He taught public policy on the college level for many, many years also. He's an older man and delightful. And he came up to me one day and said, "Would you like some help on your campaign?" And I said, "Would I? I'd love it." So he came, and we have been going over the budgets and that sort of thing. They're usually dry kind of things for a novice, but he's sort of explained a lot, and I've learned a lot, and I still have a lot more to learn. But I feel that there are certain things, future things that I would like to address that may be premature. Curbside recycling, I'm into recycling big time because every place I've ever lived has a recycling program. And I just think it's a forward thinking type of item. And I don't know whether we would be able to afford it in the immediate future. But I think it's something that needs to be addressed because sooner or later those landfills are going to fill up. And And the growth of Bardstown is so outstanding right now with the bourbon industry and the new distilleries and restaurants and exciting things. The Bourbon Festival is
exploding.
It is. It truly is. And people don't realize the numbers of people who know of the Bourbon Festival all over the United States and even the world, with the Japanese and people who are connected to the bourbon industry who come. So we're very fortunate that way, because we can certainly enjoy the fruits of our labor, so to speak, with visitors.
Well, do you feel like you'd be bringing a different voice to the city council? Like, you're the first one we've talked to that's talked about recycling and been involved in the arts. So that'd be a different voice than what's currently there and probably what's currently running. I
think so. And I think they just need a change. They just need a spark of maybe a different avenue to go down. And, you know, I don't pretend to be a professional as far as politics is concerned, but over the years volunteerism has helped me to acquaint myself with many varieties of people and many socioeconomic groups, and I think that I would bring a different viewpoint to the council, and I would love to do it.
And you're out campaigning. Are you meeting a lot of people now? What are they saying to you?
Well, they encourage me. They are encouraging me, and even some of my competition. There's a lot of men on this.
Yeah, it really is.
Maybe a woman's viewpoint is important too. I think most people would say who are running is that they want to be a common sense type person, and that's basically what I am. I've run a household, had a family, had a budget, and that's really, you don't need a PhD to be on the city council. You just need a good common sense head on you that's listening to what's being said and able to maybe contribute ideas that can be hashed around and maybe be very productive.
So I guess you've been keeping up with what the city council's been doing over the last year or so as far as issues. And again, we talk about personalities.
Yes.
At some point within the last, I say 12 months, something said, I think I'm going to go up there and file a run for city council. So something sparked you to do that, or you've been thinking about it for a long time?
Well, I guess with all this controversy with the mayor and city council, it initiated my idea of maybe going and being, I'm a peacemaker, and maybe that's it. But I just think that my idea and ideas might be constructive, and they would be heard, I think, and it's a different viewpoint. It's necessary.
Well, you mentioned just a minute ago there's very few women in this business. Could you stand up to those men and go toe-to-toe with them?
I don't know. One of my competition, a gentleman that I've known all my life who is running for city council, was my main encouragement to do this. And I said, do you think that I ought to run? And he said, I think you'd be a good candidate. And I respect his opinion greatly. So I just decided to throw my hat in the ring.
Well, before we get you out of here, obviously, you know, it's pretty exciting. We don't have actors in here very often. So it is exciting. You may not think it's a big deal, but playing in the Stephen Foster story for several years, that's quite exciting. I mean, you enjoy that?
Very much so, very much so. I've met so many wonderful people, and it's like a big family. We have a very congenial group who, the last 10 years, many of them have all been together for 10 years. So it is like a family. And we had just on the Standard on Sunday, a wonderful article about one of our young men who was going off, Corey Kessler. And, excuse me, he's just, I've watched him grow up. And it's like a family. He's like my child. I'm just so proud of him and what he's done, and he certainly has the tools to make a success.
Okay, back when you were Miss Kentucky years ago, had to be a talent of some sort. What else? Are you singing, acting? What else that you did?
Singing.
Singing?
Yeah, I sing Summertime from Gershwin and in the Miss America pageant.
So all this world travel has brought you back to the most beautiful city in the world.
Indeed, indeed,
and,
it is.
You feel like right now is the time for you to get back and get in and give back, or whatever it is.
Exactly. My family, I grew up with public service as being number one. And I always quote that wonderful boxer Muhammad Ali, because I saw many years ago a quote that he had handwritten on the wall of a restaurant in Louisville that I frequent. And it said, "Service to others is the rent we pay for our room here on earth." And I believe in that. I've always believed in that. So that's why I'm here.
Well, I very well remember Grigsby's Hardware and Freeman Carruthers.
Yes, oh, good.
Nobody forgets Freeman. So I remember all that quite well. Croom's Drug Store, the International Harvester. So the roots go back pretty far.
They really do.
So
really.
The history of Bardstown is pretty eloquent as far as what things that went before us. We've had some great leaders over the years.
Indeed, we have.
And we've had a few that we probably could have done without.
That's like everything.
Just like everything else. So you see us restoring ourselves to a very high-ranking area. I mean, I guess a little class back in the city council, or what is it you want to bring?
Well,
or just civility.
I'm too modest.
I can't be modest in politics.
Well, I know. I think I just have a different perspective, and that's what I want to bring to city council, is maybe a different perspective and a different way of looking at things.
Yeah.
And maybe we can resolve some of the problems of Bardstown that come up with a little bit more amicable atmosphere, because right now it's contentious. And when you have a contentious, polarized atmosphere, you don't solve problems.
Yeah. Well, I guess one of the things that jumps out, just looking at this, you were formerly at the United Methodist Church as a choir director. And so one thing I think about, and a friend of mine, Coach Minor Harmon, around here, he's always telling me there's no I in team, and there is an I in choir, but a choir to me is basically everybody on the same page. Do you feel like that's basically what we need? Or,
yes, I do.
Or do we need to just be battling and...
No, I do not. I think we all need to be on the same page in the city council. I mean, the mayor's task is to motivate the city council and to bring the leaders of the community together and resolve the problems that arise in the city. And that's what I would like to do. I just think that we need a more amicable situation in city council.
Okay, well, is there anything we need to tell the voters they need to know before they go pull that lever on November 8th?
No, except that I'm probably on the bottom of the ballot, and I'm not a boy, I'm a girl.
Lee Grigsby Evans is a girl, and be patient as you go through read the whole ballot, don't you?
And all those good old boys need a good old woman standing behind them.
Well, we'll leave it at that. So again, November 8th is the election day, Tuesday, November 8th coming up at the Bardstown City Council. Lee Grigsby Evans here, long time, but got roots going back for generations here in Bardstown, and wants to do her part in the Bardstown City Council. Lee, thank you for being here today. We certainly appreciate this.
Thank you, Kenny.
We wish you all the best.
I'm delighted to meet you.
All right, well, thanks a lot. You stick around. We've got a lot more to come here on Community Focus. You're on Channel 6 TV, your Central Kentucky television station.